value. Now, I know that sounds really boring, but it's actually not. I have some things I want to talk to you about that have to do with dealing with anxiety and setting yourself up for success when it comes to charting and notes, and also how this fits into increasing your hourly wage with people at the table. And so, a couple of things that, when I talk to people about charting, one of the first things they say are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do charts, because they think of a medical office or they think of something other than massage. So, especially if you're like a very energy sort of body worker, you have this feeling of, I don't want to do charts, I don't want to do notes, because I want to just really offer that person what they need at that moment. And you can still do that, but charting actually serves some other purposes so that you can operate your business in a way that it supports you. Okay. So the number one way, honestly, the number one way to keep your business successful, if you're a sole proprietor working for yourself, is to actually keep notes. This is the number one way to be successful. Now, a couple of reasons for this is, and this is something I have found a lot with massage therapists. Well, actually, I have found it with most anybody running their own business, because you have so many different hats that you wear. You manage your own laundry, which is substantial. You do your own banking, your own bill paying, your bookkeeping. You manage your clients. You take the client calls. You schedule the clients. You make sure everything gets filled. You manage your schedule. I mean, you need a secretary, really. But when you do all of these things, sometimes the most important thing that actually brings money to you is the success of the treatment with your client, whether it's relaxation, stress management, whatever. It is the success of each client, each independent client, and how they refer people to you that really keeps your business going. And when we have all of these other things going on, sometimes this piece is the one that's missing. So I have some questions for you. So do you get overwhelmed easily in your business? This is an answer of yes for most of the people I talk to. So even if you're a realtor, I've been working with a real estate agent. I've been working with a gal that's developing some classes for dental hygiene, some different things like that. They all experience the same thing. And the reason they experience the same thing is because our memory is only going to serve us so far when it comes to how we manage our service with the people in our practices. Okay, so you need a system to remind you. I've often said I need like 4 secretaries. The reality of it is I don't have a secretary. So how do I create a secretary for me in order to help me be as successful as I want to be in all the different businesses that I do? So the other reason why you would want to keep charting is we keep talking about in here, and we'll get to some more charting here in just a second. We keep talking about increasing your value. So I've had a conversation with several different people in the last week that they're like, well, how do I really show my client that I'm worth more money? How do I really show my client, because I haven't raised my rates in 30 years or whatever, how do I really show my client that now I have a greater value? Well, first off, you have to show yourself that you have a greater value. And by doing that, that's where charting comes into play. So if you want to increase your hourly rate, you've got to increase your service. You've got to increase the feel of your service. Most of the time, if we don't chart, and I've seen this so many times, I cannot tell you, if you don't actually spend even just a little, just like, Melissa came in this day and she had neck pain and I did this. Even if you don't do that much, it really changes how you approach each person. What happens is you typically fall back on your cookie cutter, as I call it, your cookie cutter massage. So everybody's getting the same massage because you have this routine that you know is going to fit into 60 minutes, and you're going to apply extra stuff within that 60 minutes of whatever else they need. But you're never truly going to be setting your service up for each individual person if you can't remember what it is you're doing. So when you want to increase your value, because you have to increase your value before you increase your rates. You can't just haphazardly increase your rates. You can't. You have to increase your value. So when you take like the Massage Your Market class, And you get those 6 questions for defining expectations, and you start to really design the massage around what it is your client is expecting. That's a huge piece to this. The second piece to that is you have to actually remember what it was you did with your client in order to offer them that same value again. And to do that, you've got to have a system in place to remind you of what it was you were doing, or you will fall back on your cookie cutter. And what's really bad, and I know this sounds, well, it's true, we've all experienced this in different capacities. What's really bad is when you start working on some of these things and you do increase your value and your client feels that you increased your value, and then you quit doing the things that helped you remember or increased your value, they really notice when your value goes down. So if you're going to increase your value, you have got to set things up so it continues on in the system that you do. So here are some of the benefits of charting. So, I use charting not just for pain levels and what I did, because especially when you do PPS bodywork, you might have a completely different session the next time they came in. But what it did remind me of is what we did last time and what their body was experiencing last time and how I can build off of that for this time. And it also gave me bits and pieces of things like, hey, last time we were working with that headache, have you had that headache back? Or have you had neck pain involved with it, or has it moved? And your client loves that you remember what was going on with them. Okay. And it also inspires them to say, I hadn't really thought about that, or I've been keeping track of this for you because you asked me to, and you don't remember you asked them to, those sorts of things. So it really helps you in a lot of ways. But the other benefits of charting, and these were some things that I made sure I wrote down, were, it reminds you of what your client likes, because that right there, that service you provide in that capacity, just remembering what your client likes increases your value. You're not falling back on your cookie cutter, you're designing the massage flow. And those are the little things that your client keeps coming back for time and time again. And when you forget to do them, or you did them one time and then you don't do it again, your client knows that, they remember that, and then they start looking for somebody else who will fulfill that need for them. Okay. It reminds you of what your client needs as well, because there's times I go to work, I'm tired, I'm worn out. This is, client 16, 17, and 18. It's the end of the week and I'm going to go on vacation, and I just don't really remember what that client needs. I'm just here to do my work. That sort of attitude will not push you and promote you through the things that you need to do. Okay. You need to remember what they like and what they need. Something else that helps you do is something new that works, that is not part of your routine. You actually can make sure, and this is kind of how I developed PPS bodywork, is charting and keeping track of what worked for one person for sciatica, and then what worked for the next person for sciatica. And when I came up with a consistent pattern with people, then I took that information and tested it, and then voila, there you go. So being able to put something in your chart specific to what they need is huge. Okay, that's where the big bucks come from. You can also put in there something you said you would check on, because your client remembers if you said you would check on something and then you didn't remember. Okay, and if they are 50 clients apart, you're not going to remember at all. So with all this in mind, and I think it was Tony Robbins, something I was listening to. By the way, I'm a firm believer of learning something every day. That's not always easy, and so I try and find the time to do that. But learning something every day about business, or something you've been wanting to understand, or just a short little blurb about something, really keeps your mind going in the right direction. The days that I don't do that, I don't feel like I've been as productive as I need to be. So I think it was Tony Robbins that said, what is your exit strategy? And I know you're probably thinking, how in the world does charting go with exit strategy? Well, it actually is huge. So what is your exit strategy when it comes to massage therapy? When I ask people, what are they going to do? How are they going to leave this career? They think I'm crazy. And I'm going to tell you a story about exit strategies. And you should always have the end of your business in mind. And the reason for that is, when you have the end of your business in mind, it gives you something to work towards, and it gives you purpose afterwards. Most people, when they are employed, especially if they have high-paying jobs, they look at that job not just as a means to an end and a way to pay their bills every month. They look at that job in terms of, how is this going to set me up for retirement? And how am I going to end my working career and take care of myself? That's exit strategy. A lot of massage therapists don't have an exit strategy. In fact, a lot of people in the service industry don't have an exit strategy. So I want you to start thinking about this, not in terms of, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but how are you going to take the work that you're doing now and turn it into something valuable that you can either sell or transition to somebody else for a cost?